Hi, this is another edition of my show, The Stuart Dahl Show, starring myself, Stuart Dahl. I am coming to you live from my house right here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, where the current temperature is about 21 degrees, and it looks like Winnipeg's going to reach their high of 22. It's just one more degree to go. And then, yeah, so it looks like it's going to be a very pleasant weekend, which is a good thing. What else? So now, let's just get right into my show. As you all know, for you people that are on YouTube, you all know that right now it's the 70th anniversary of the most devastating siege in history, the siege of Leningrad. And for you people that do not know what the siege of Leningrad, the siege of Leningrad was all a part of the German Wehrmacht's plans to try to conquer Russia. Um, because at the start of Operation Barbarossa, which began on June 22nd, 1941, because of the sheer number in German troops, there was about at the start of it there was about 3.2 million German troops at the start, and because of that, they split it into three army groups. Army Group North struck towards Leningrad, and then Army Group Center was supposed to struck towards Moscow, and then Army Group South toward the rich farmlands of Ukraine. Everything seemed to be going to according to plan for the Germans, for the German Wehrmacht, but unfortunately, Adolf Hitler and his general staff, mainly Adolf Hitler, didn't even think, oh, how much stubborn resistance are the Soviets gonna put up, and they put up, and the Soviet Grand Army put up a fierce, stubborn resistance in major battles on the Eastern Front during World War II. And the thing is the German Wehrmacht, like Army Group Center, was the army group that was striking towards Moscow. They were trying to do that before the harsh Russian winter came, because I think in the German plans for Operation Barbarossa, they didn't really think about making any plans for for the winter nap. What I mean by that, they didn't make any plans for getting the German troops nice warm clothing, like overcoats, stuff like that, like lubricants and stuff in case their tanks or their whatever armored vehicles or vehicles and that, and like oil and petrol and stuff like that, for for a winter campaign. I think what really played, so basically the German Wehrmacht were ill prepared for the harsh conditions of the Russian winter. And unfortunately, I think that played a bit of played a factor in the fierce close quarters bloody combat between the German Wehrmacht and the Soviet Red Army. The siege of Lenin, the battles that rage on the Eastern Front between the German military, the Wehrmacht, and the Soviet Red Army, and that were probably the most fiercest and bloodiest in World War II. Uh, but also there's the battles that raged in the Pacific between the Americans and the Japanese. But I think the battles that raged on the Eastern Front. I think that kind of take that you know if that's twice as bad as fighting in the Pacific and that because of the brutal nature. And some of the military operations that were conducted during World War II, for example, there was the Battle for Moscow, which is which was the German strategic offensive was named Operation Typhoon. It was planned to conduct two pincer offensives, one from the north against Moscow from the Kalinin front by the 3rd and 4th Panzer armies, simultaneously severing the Moscow-Leningrad Railway, and another from the Moscow Oblast against the Western Front south of Tula by the 2nd Panzer Army, while the 4th Army advanced directly towards Moscow from the west. A separate operational German plan, codenamed Operation Webcam, which included the final phase of the German offensive. Intently, the Soviet forces conducted a strategic defense of the Moscow Oblast by constructing 3 defensive belts, deploying nearly raised reserve armies, and bringing troops from the Siberian and Far Eastern military districts. Subsequently, as the German offensives were halted, a Soviet counteroffensive and the small-scale offensive operations were executed to force the German armies back to the positions around the cities of Oral, Vyazma, and Vitebsk, nearly surrounding 3 German armies in the process. So this wasn't the only battle raging on the Eastern Front. And the thing is, right now, like with the 70th anniversary of the siege of Leningrad, we should all really be taking time to reflect and remember those 1 million Soviet civilians that unfortunately died as a result of the city of Leningrad being encircled by not only German Army Group North, but also by their Finnish allies from the north. So, and the siege of Leningrad is also known as the Leningrad blockade, which, for people that do not know, it was a prolonged military blockade undertaken by Army Group North, which was commanded by Wilhelm Ritter von Lieb. And the thing is, it could have gone a lot differently for German Army Group North, because, but the thing is Hitler, in his crazy psychotic mind, recalled the 4th Panzer Army and gave the commander, I believe the commander was Paul Ludwig von Kleist, gave him orders. Gave him orders that the 4th Panzer Army was to be sent to Moscow to help Fedor von Bock's push towards Moscow. And in the end, unfortunately, that didn't succeed for the Germans. Anyway, because they were really ill prepared for, like I said, for the harsh, conditions of the Russian winter. And what else? In another military operation undertaken by the Soviet Red Army is called Operation Bagration. It was the code name for the Soviet 1944 Belarusian strategic offensive operation during World War II, which cleared German forces from Belarusian SSR and eastern Poland between June 22nd and between the 22nd of June and the 19th of August 1944. The operation was named after the 19th century Georgian Prince Bagration, general of the Imperial Russian Army, who was mortally wounded in the Battle of Borodino. The operation resulted in the almost complete, and I stress the word complete, and utter destruction of an entire German army group, with the loss of Army Group Center's 4th Army, 3rd Panzer Army, and the 9th Army, and it consisted mainly of cumulative defeat experienced by the German armed forces during World War II. By the end of the operation, most of the Western Soviet had been liberated, and the Red Army achieved footholds in Romania and Poland. German losses eventually numbered well over 500,000 men, killed or wounded, and even higher than the toll at Verdun in 1916. The Soviet army is directly involved in Operation Bagration with the First Baltic Front under Army General Ivan sorry for the mispronunciation. And then the First Belarusian Front was commanded by Army General Kasan Rokossovsky. The Second Belarusian Front was commanded by Colonel General G.F. Zhukov, and the Third Belarusian Front commanded by Colonel General Ivan. I'm not even going to start pronouncing the last name because it's really hard to pronounce. The Red Army practiced the concept of Soviet deep battle and that. So, in other words, like I said, in other words, some really brutal and nasty battles took part on the Eastern Front, like the siege of Leningrad was a part of that. The battle for Moscow, which was which was a German strategic offensive, codenamed Operation Typhoon. So, this, kind of really, by the Germans invading the Soviet Union, like, at first, people, at first, they thought, when Hitler and Stalin signed the non-aggression pact, and yes, I'm being sarcastic about it, because they said a non-aggression pact, because supposedly Adolf Hitler and Joseph Stalin were supposed to be allies, but Adolf Hitler and Hitler's worst enemy was communism. And the thing was, unfortunately, the German army lost the Battle of Britain. So what does Hitler do? He turns his tensions east. So and then, like I said, on June 22nd, 1941, one dictator double crosses another when Adolf Hitler and the German Wehrmacht invade the Soviet Union. And this is what started some of the most brutal fighting on the Eastern Front. And for you people that don't know what for the Russians they called it the Great Patriotic War, because they were basically fighting not only for their lives but they were fighting for their very existence and that. So, and like I said, there's a lot of commemorations, going on in Russia to remember the battle of to remember the siege in Leningrad, but it's also to remember like all the operations. Some of the operations that took place on the Eastern Front, and these are some of the most brutal and vicious of World War II. So yeah. What else? Other than that, what else? I just had my second week of bowling. Last week I had a really good start to my season, and then today, I had another good 2 games. My first game I got a score of 134, and then my second to last game I got a score of 219. And like I was doing well in the second game, like like the first 2 frames I got a double strike, like I got 2 strikes in a row. The next frame I didn't get one, like I had a chance to go for a turkey, but oh well. And then in the next 2 frames I got 2 more strikes, so I had 4 double strikes plus a couple spares and stuff like that, and that's what played a factor in me doing very well today in my scores. Of like I said, in my first game, my first score was 134, and then my second to last game it was 219. And this is literally the only 3rd time in my I don't know how many seasons of bowling that I've in at least one game have broken over 200. Last bowling season, I managed. I managed to break over 200 twice, and that. And the thing is, the reason why, I know when I have a really good game at bowling, like at my bowling practices. When I have a really good game, I start getting really higher scores than my average, which is a good thing. But sometimes, you want to beat your average. And that, oh, what else? Eh, other than that, uh, I'm gonna be going out tonight to hang out with one of my very good friends, Jonathan Alexander Moline, or as most of my friends and I call him Big John, because he's a big tall guy. And I've been friends with my friend Jonathan Alexander Moline since him and his family moved from Thunder Bay, Ontario. And years ago. This is when I was at Bruce Middle School. So yeah, so that's what I'm doing tonight because my girlfriend has other plans. She's going to one of her friends' birthday party, and it's a girls' night. So at least I kind of get a break from the constant like and that like I love my girlfriend and that, and I like her friends and that, but sometimes they literally drive me up the wall at times. But oh well, I kind of got to deal with it. whatever type of thing. What else? Other than that, bowling is the only, out of all the three sports I keep in, that I've started back to so far. More than likely, I should be starting back to swimming probably sometime soon, and then I don't start back to curling till November the 1st. So then, once I start back to those two sports, I'll be really busy throughout the fall and winter months. And that, so yeah, for you, what else? So for you people that are on YouTube that may live here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, you should all try to get out this weekend and enjoy the nice weather, because it ain't gonna last long, because unfortunately, I really hate to be the bearer of bad news, is fall officially starts on Wednesday, September 23rd. So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but oh well. And that, what else? As you people that are on YouTube may or may not know, that I'm a dual citizen. I'm a German Canadian. The reason why I'm German Canadian is because I was born on October 16th, 1990 in Lahr, Baden-Württemberg, Germany. And the only reason why I have German citizenship too, on top of my Canadian, is because of my German heritage, and that. So, and I take very good pride in my German heritage. But sometimes, for me as a German, I don't like to talk about Germany's dark past and that, because for me as a German, like, I feel really ashamed about it. And what I mean by Germany's dark past, I mean from like the years from like 1933 when Hitler came to power till basically when he took a gun and he put a bullet to his brain on April 30th, 1945, just after his 56th birthday. But if it in that. So there's certain things, because I'm German, I don't like to talk about, because I feel ashamed of, what some of the stuff that the German army did in World War II, and that. But sometimes, like, even like people in the German army, and even in the infamous Waffen SS, like all the Waffen SS units, basically they had no choice. It was either they basically they had to follow orders, or they would be shot. They would be court-martialed, and they'd be shot. And that, what else? Other than that, this has been another edition of my show, The Stuart Dahl Show. For you young people, try to enjoy the nice weather while you can, because next Wednesday, this upcoming Wednesday, will be the first official day of fall, and then it's gonna start getting cooler and cooler as the days go on. And then also for you young people, stay in school, stay out of trouble, and you'll do fine. And like what I mean by that, don't do drinking, don't smoke drugs, don't do like any of that bad stuff. But other than that, for you younger kids, stay in school, stay out of trouble, and you'll do perfectly fine. And for now, Alvida Zane, peace, and bye bye, and stay cool, my friends.